Welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Chiu. Since the Trump administration took office, the Trump shockwaves have also impacted higher education. Today on the program, we will look at what Trump posted on his social media platform, Truth Social, on the 20th. He revealed that the government is in close negotiation with Harvard University over a previous dispute and expects to settle next week. However, as of the time of filming, no further news has been received. In the confrontation between the Trump administration and Harvard University, what exactly is Trump after, and what kinds of follow-up effects could this bring? Joining us today are Charles Liao, University of California Davis Economics Adjunct Professor, and Xie Pei Fen, International Cooperation and Development Fund Deputy Secretary General. A very warm welcome to both on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Harvard, a globally top-tier institution, has produced 8 US presidents and 162 Nobel laureates, with an endowment reaching $51 billion, making it one of the wealthiest academic institutions worldwide. However, in the middle of this year, the Trump administration said Harvard was condoning anti-Semitic rhetoric, campus protest, and was overly left-leaning in its DEI policies. In May, the Department of Homeland Security announced the revocation of Harvard University's SEVP, Students and Exchange Visitor Program, certification for international students and exchange scholars. In early June, Trump signed a presidential proclamation suspending the issuance of visas for Harvard's international students. So my first question goes to Charles, is that why has the fate of international students become a bargaining chip between the White House and Harvard?
Yeah, the fight between Trump and the Trump administration and Harvard goes way back to 2017 when he started with his first term. He signed an executive order back in 2017 saying that all the sanctuary cities and university, their funding will be withheld. So, and that didn't go too far because that's in indirect contradiction with the constitutional principle that you cannot the religious and political viewpoint is not supposed to be a contingency of the federal funding, and that didn't go very far. So Trump administration has been trying to find ways to fight and stop the what was so-called a left-leaning DEI program. So in Trump 2.0, they found a leverage, and the leverage is in 2023, there was the war between Israel and Hamas broke out. So there were a widespread of the protest, pro-Palestinian protests among Columbia, starting from Columbia University, Harvard, MIT, UCLA, all these universities. So they found this niche to start using this as an excuse that these universities are actually provoking or protecting the anti-Semitism. So that is really the long story that going back to 2017. And if you zoom in on 2025, this is how Trump administration is trying again, using this as a rhetoric that these universities are elite and they don't know people. So they are creating this tension and creating this woke, so-called woke culture in the society. At the same time, he's trying very hard, using that as an excuse yet again to fight with the higher education.
Well, it is understandable that Trump used this as a leverage, as you mentioned, or find a leash to fight against the left wing in the domestic America. But my major wonder is why is about foreign students or international students?
Yeah.
Could you add up to this?
Yeah, because that first excuse didn't go very far. The so-called the sanctuary city, they were trying to withhold the funding because that's direct against the constitutional principles. And then so the issue with international students is that it belongs to the Homeland Security Department of Homeland Security, and Homeland Security belongs to the executive branch. So Trump feels like this is time he has the power, he has the leverage. Kristen Noem, the director of the Department of Homeland Security, said many times that SEVP is not the right, it is a privilege. So they can take it back anytime they want. That's why the Trump administration is using that right now.
Okay, privilege. Pei Fen, so what is the importance of international students to Harvard, and what percentage do they account for?
Yeah, that's a very great question. Why international students? Because they matter. They matter to Harvard's identity, they matter to Harvard's finances, and also they matter to America's global influence. So Harvard has over 7,000 international students, and it's accounted for like more than 1/4 of the student body. It's actually 27%.
Undergrads and grad students
Both.
combined.
Yes, in total. Yeah, so it's more than 1/4 of the entire student body of Harvard. And many of them contributed actually disproportionately in research at Harvard in areas such as engineering, computer science, public policy, and graduate education. So these students are not just numbers. They are researchers, they are future public leaders, tech innovators, and also global ambassadors of Harvard's values. So they are a big portion of Harvard's student body. And also the second reason I believe is international students contribute also financially to Harvard. Many international students pay full tuition or bring external fellowships, scholarships to the school. Their presence supports the university's finances and also cross-subsidizes other programs. And also the third reason why international students are important at Harvard is that Harvard-trained alumni often return to their home countries to leadership positions. So U.S. influence and soft diplomacy plays a very important part in this. So I believe Harvard, we have already seen Harvard has suffered quite a lot since Trump's announcement on his measure on international students.
Right, I'm not trying to go against your argument, but according to Trump, or in the Mega's perspective, that in Harvard, there are a lot of international students, primarily from China. They have this connection to Chinese Communist Party. And I mean, you are graduated from Harvard, so what's your response to this?
Well, yes, there are a lot of students from China, but there are also a lot of students from Israel, from Korea, from other American allies. So this was like one-fits-all measure just doesn't really justify, in my opinion, it doesn't really justify the Trump administration's so-called policy toward Chinese students. Well, actually, before in Trump's first term, he actually had a policy toward international students, which were more focused on those countries that he specifically wanted to target. For example, he shortened the visa term for Chinese students, for example. So I think there's a bigger thinking behind this ban on international students in Trump's second term.
Okay, Charles, you graduated from Yale, right?
Yes.
And could you a little bit, talk about the situation in Yale as well? Even, I mean, that's also one of the Ivy League universities in the United States.
Yeah, Yale definitely is not attracting as much attention as Harvard is right now, but I think we're all in this together because Trump is not only claim wars against Harvard, but also Columbia, MIT, a lot of universities are which allow students to protest during the 2024 pro-Palestinian protest. So overall, Trump administration is trying to tie this university or elite university with what they define as a woke culture, and with the left-leaning party, which is of course Democratic Party. So they're trying to create this elite versus people. So these people don't know what we're talking about. They're way aloof. They're just in their ivory tower. And so especially next year is the midterm election. So he's trying to double down on this argument that these universities, they don't know much. They're colliding with the China CCP, and then us American people need to kind of come together and against them. So I think that's the rhetoric they're trying to incorporate, and then whether or not this is going to work, we'll see. But I think that all the universities should really kind of form an alliance so that each university is not fighting alone.
I think there are two primary targets in this whole story. Number one is the domestic enemy, if you will. Those left-leaning wings, they are like pro, LGBTQ. Or on the other hand, there's a China factor to it. So still a follow-up for you, Charles, is that do you think that Trump or MAGA's camp, their primary target is those opponents in domestic America, those left-leaning people, or China. So which target do they care about more?
Yeah, I think Trump administration is their language is not often very clear, and then when you really trying to follow through, the logic usually falls apart. Mm-hmm. They argue that Harvard or these elite universities are proponents of woke culture, and they're also in alliance with Chinese CCP, and then all these stories. But when investigators or journalists they start to follow up with these stories, mm-hmm. like some of the stories about Xinjiang factories or from China, and some of the stories they just fall apart, and they won't be able to follow through. So I think the Trump administration is really trying to, first of all, create this them versus us situation. And then second of all, I think he's trying to appease the donors and voters that I'm doing something for you. And then I think most importantly, there is some like a personal grudges against these universities, because these universities, after all, they're very critical during his first term about his foreign policy, his economic policies. And then now he's in his second term, I think he's doubled down on a lot of issues. So he's suffering from a lot more attacks from academia. So that's creating a lot of tensions.
So the whole cultural war could be viewed as a package. A whole package, and kind of in the front burner of Trump's agenda.
Yeah, that's just simply easier. Okay. Right? And from a political, like during election years, especially.
Right. Okay. Pei-Fen, as a Harvard alumna, so what's your feeling about this, and also what actions are being taken to show support for your alma mater?
Well, my feeling, I was actually very shocked when I first learned about this. I thought it's a piece of fake news, because was just not imaginable. Well, in terms of alumni, what Harvard alumni have done, I think they have tried to shape public opinions. They have also tried to argue in terms of legal terms, and also they have tried to contribute to Harvard financially. So in terms of shaping public opinions, public advocacy, solidarity campaigns are going on. Alumni have published op-eds and policy letters defending Harvard. There are also over 12,000 alumni who have signed letters and statements in support of Harvard's legal actions and values. And in terms of legal support, alumni lawyers have also contributed to amicus briefs filed in federal courts in support of Harvard's claims. And also financially, there are also contributions being made to Harvard emergency funds to assist affected international students. But just to be clear and just to follow up on what the professor just said, this is not just a Harvard issue. Any university in the United States can be the next Harvard. Right. And also this is not just about students' visa. It's not just about international students. It's about whether a government can use international students and federal funding as a tools to influence or to force ideological conformity on higher education institutions.
Mm-hmm. Let me recap the whole situation a little bit. On June 4th, Trump signed a presidential proclamation suspending the issuance of visas to Harvard SEVP applicants. Harvard University immediately filed a motion for a temporary restraining order, but the State Department had already issued orders to consulates to refuse visas to Harvard students before the courts approved the motion. The back and forth between Harvard and the Trump administration has continued to this day. So Charles, could you give us a broader understanding, or like maybe deeper understanding, is that do the Trump campaign's criticism of Harvard reflect the current state of American society?
Yeah, I don't think it reflects the true division in U.S. society. But I think Trump is very good at making your opponent in a situation where you feel very, very anxious, very, very uneasy. And that you see that many times in the tariff issue and also in the Harvard higher education issue. I think that right now the situation is that the argument is that Harvard, they argue that Trump does not have that doesn't go through the due process. There's an act called APA, Administrative Procedure Act, so stating that any government entities before you issuing or start implementing any regulations or policy, you need to have a period of maybe 35 days or 45 days of notification period, and you have to leave them the time to defend themselves, and then you have to go through the whole process. And then Harvard obviously didn't get the time to respond to those accusations. So Trump was temporarily, being ruled that they're overstepping their right by Boston Federal Court. But now, like you said, it is still an issue that's going back and forth. But I totally agree with Pei-Fen just mentioned that this issue is definitely, it's more complicated and more nuanced than just saying that them versus us, because even international students from China, a lot of them end up staying in the United States, working for, some of them even working for U.S. government, become an asset in the U.S. government and U.S. Society as a whole. So I think Trump is trying to do this black-white division, which is very, very harmful for the economy, for the whole society.
On June 26th, Harvard announced its first contingency plan since the disputes began. Students unable to return to the U.S. can continue their studies at the University of Toronto in Canada. This measure primarily targets Harvard University's Kennedy School, which has the highest number of international students, 52% being foreign students over the past 5 years. So Pei-Fen, is off-campus education could be, serving as the best solution to these students?
Well, I think this is a band-aid, not a cure. The Toronto solution shows resilience, but not sustainability. So for several reasons. So first, they lost the full Harvard experience. Harvard is not just a collection of Zoom lectures. Harvard offers a rich in-person interactions with faculty, with classmates, with mentorship, networking, and etc. So on and so forth. So when I first arrived at Harvard, I was told again and again that we should learn from our peers. And I was actually confused. I was like, I'm here for the world-class professors. Why should I learn from my classmates? But then as the semester progresses, I realized that my classmates are all like top talent from different countries, so I can actually learn a lot from them. And not to mention all the speakers from around the world who come to Harvard, and also the alumni networking. So I think there's some value in learning at Harvard, on Harvard campus. And also studying in Toronto, from Toronto, also presents immigration and visa uncertainty for those international students. Right. So even if students can attend Harvard from Toronto, their US visa status might still be unclear, and this might put a great sense of uncertainty in their minds. And also this creates ongoing stress and instability, not only for the students, but for the institution as a whole. Right. And I think most importantly, it's also hurts the U.S.'s credibility and its role as the world model of higher education. So people go to the United States for their higher education and for a kind of American dream. But if the U.S. is no longer the destination for the best talents around the world, I think it actually hurts not only Harvard, but the whole country as well. So I think starting from Toronto is might be a temporary solution, but it's definitely not the best.
Mm-hmm. Trump has not only frozen $2.2 billion in federal subsidies to Harvard, but also freeze its tax-exempt status. So what revelation or impact will this bring to other higher education institutions, Charles?
This is definitely sending a chilling effect to all the universities. So a lot of universities actually they start to self-censoring. They start canceling out a lot of the diversity or equity program. They start laying off people who are related to and pro-Palestinian background. Mm-hmm. So this is creating a lot of confusions and fear throughout the university, and that's why we were just both Piven and I were just talking about this, not just Harvard or Yale, all university or higher education are in this together, because attack on one is attack on all. So I don't think this is of course this is a dark time, but I think this might be a time that where university can start thinking about how to better safeguard in the future if after 3 years. How to better safeguard their funding, making sure they have solid ground, make sure that they're not so prone to federal regulations or rules, and also ensure the freedom of speech.
Mm-hmm. This whole thing also reminds me of the old day, the McCarthyism back in the 1950s, when the whole U.S. Political environment was not very friendly to communism. So do you see that kind of parallel between then and now, Charles?
Not really, because I think the public opinion is very different right now. I think a couple of weeks ago we saw this huge Trump No Kings protest, and people from all over the cities in the United States, they came out and protested. How the public opinion, if the legislature or lawmakers, they won't be able to do their job, they're being so-called kidnapped by the agenda of Trump administration, then it falls back on people, and people will voice their concern. They will try to do anything. They will elect legislature who support their agenda instead of Trump's agenda. So I think eventually it still comes down to people, whether people have the right, and then if the people have right, then they will be able to elect a new group of legislature, and these legislators will be able to speak their concern or voice and speak against Trump.
And the midterm election is around the corner in 2026 soon, so we will see the new result, how that will shape the environment one step further. Piven, in the face of the test of choosing between upholding academic freedom and political correctness, what leverage does Harvard possess to resist the government until the end, to your prediction?
Well, I guess Harvard is still having some leverages. First of all, it's the endowment. Well, the threat of removing federal funding is huge, but still Harvard is comparatively more wealthy than other universities. So for the time being, I think the endowment can help Harvard a little bit. And also the second is the network of Harvard alumni. Harvard alumni
wealthy too.
Yes, and influential and politically connected. I think they can also help. And also I think, public opinion, I'm not very sure, but I think that can also play a role. Well, because the reason why I'm not very sure is because we just heard that the way people treat the woke culture is very different. So according to some survey, among Republican voters, 60% see the term woke as an insult. And 78% of Democrats see it as a sign of social awareness. So I'm not very sure if the majority public opinion will definitely be one way or the other. But I think generally, overall, the Harvard's endowment, Harvard's alumni network, and its prestigious status, its world reputation as a leading university will kind of help Harvard. I hope will help Harvard through this storm.
Charles, you're currently an adjunct professor at the UC Davis, right? I remember when I was in the States, we always talk about, regardless of your religious backgrounds, ethnicity, and all those kind of differences, you'll be treated fairly. So, any difference right now? I mean, after Trump, came to office and tried to revoke those DEI policy.
I think California is different. California is probably more insulated than in other states, because California we have our protocol, and UC region is basically a huge entity. So they have their own ruling and they have their own protection. And also the Governor Newsom, also kind of planning to sue Trump on various accounts.
Right.
So I think in general, I don't feel too much difference, and people still conduct the way they usually conduct their research and everything. But we definitely, some professors definitely feel the pinch, especially in the biology, STEM field, like science, technology field. A lot of the funding get canceled, NIH funding, CDC funding got canceled, so they won't be able to hire students or postdoc that they wanted to hire from other part of the world. International scholars, their scholarship got canceled. So those were the part that definitely feel the pinch.
Will you see the future in America, the universities will kind of fall down in its capability compared with other countries?
It's definitely a concern that U.S. is if you talk about higher education, and I think you think of United States, right? That it does have this reputation. It does have this perfect combination between industry and academia. Like a lot of the biological breakthrough end up becoming an actual product. So no other countries is doing as well as the United States. This is definitely creating a threat to that reputation. A lot of the scholars and students, they are now choose to go to European countries or Japan or even China for their further study or scholarship. So I think that's definitely going to be an issue. So that's I think the bottom line is how the legal system is upholding some of the freedom of speech. And then whether or not they're ruling on the independence of the university, these will eventually pan out. So I think that's the bottom line.
Pei-Fen, will you still encourage younger generation to go to higher education in the United States in the future?
Yes, I think so. I hope. I think the higher education is one strength of the United States. Although it looks like it's now destroying this strength, but still. On the foundation, the higher education in the U.S. has already built for the past several decades or even hundreds of years. I think it's still a very good experience for any students, international or domestic, to pursue higher education there.
Pei-Fen and Charles, thank you for great insights in the show.
Thank you.
Like our show, subscribe to Taiwan Talks. See you soon.